Hey there, Geometry. It's Mr. Lamb coming to you with the 3.1 to 3.3 quiz review. Don't forget that this quiz will be given on Friday, but the grade will not go in until the quarter two grading period. It will be the first grade of your grading two grading period. So let's take a look at the questions that we're going to need to know. The number one question, this is very similar to the one that we did in the notes, says Steph knocks down 95 of 100 three-point attempts while playing basketball. Find the make-to-miss ratio for Steph as a simplified fraction. Again, I would always recommend starting with words. So I want to do make on top to miss on bottom. There's my make-to-miss ratio. Okay, so this ratio can be written using numbers. It says that he knocks down 95, so that's 95 makes. And how many does he miss? Well, if he takes 100 of them and he makes 95, that means he misses 5 of them. And it says it wants this written as a simplified fraction. So they are both divisible by 5. So 95 divided by 5 is 19, and 5 divided by 5 is 1. So that ratio is a 19 to 1 ratio. Some of you may be wondering, do I have to write the 1? Yes, you absolutely have to write the 1 in this ratio, so that way we know how many misses. I know when we simplify most fractions into whole numbers, we would just write this as 19. But when we're talking about a ratio, remember it is always a comparison of two numbers. So 19 to 1, that 1 absolutely must be there. Number 2 says find the make to attempt ratio. So now we have make over top of attempt. Okay, how many does he make? He makes 95. And how many are attempted? 100, or 100 attempts. Again, we can divide both of these by 5. 95 divided by 5 is 19, while 100 divided by 5 is 20. So the simplified ratio is 19 to 20. Again, how can it says write as a simplified fraction. It could say to write it using a colon, or the word 2. We talked about several different ways to do that. Question number 2 says there are, and this is one of them, I told you this would be a test question, here it is. It says there are 238 juniors at a high school. The ratio of girls to boys in the junior class is 3 to 4. How many juniors are girls? How many are boys? So here's what we want to say. It says the ratio of girls to boys. So girls to boys. All right, girl to boy ratio is 3 to 4. And it wants to know how many girls are there. So I'm going to start with girls. I'll use the G to represent girls. Now something we do have to know. If there are G girls, if there are 0 girls, there are 238 boys. If there is 1 girl, there's 237 boys. If there are 2 girls, there's 236 boys. So however many girls there are, if I want to know the number of boys, I will take 238, the total number, and I'll subtract the number of girls. All right, now I just solved this proportion. I'm going to cross multiply. 4 times G is 4G. And when I multiply the other diagonal, 3 times 238 minus G. Don't forget to distribute that when we multiply. So 3 times 238 is 714 minus 3 times G is 3G. And solving for G, I'm going to add 3G to both sides. So that is now 7G equals 714. And divide by 7, so G is equal to 102 girls. Now, how do I find the number of boys? Well, boys, B, are equal to 238 students minus the number of girls. So that means boys are 238 minus 102, which is boys is 136 boys. So in that problem, I will have 102 girls, 136 boys. The girl to boy ratio is 3 to 4. There are less girls than there are boys, and the ratio told me that at the beginning. All right, number 3 says solve the proportion. Solving a proportion means I'm going to cross multiply. So I'll multiply these two first. 4x times 2 is 8x. And now I'll multiply this one. Equals negative 8 times 3x is negative 24x. Negative 8 times negative 6 is plus 48. So I'll add 24x to both sides. So 32x is equal to 48. And divide by 32. So x is 3/2, or 1.5. Okay, number 4. Again, I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to do these two together first. So x plus 6 times x minus 3 is equal to this one. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. All right. This one is one of them that we saw several times in the practice. We're going to have to FOIL, set equal to 0, factor. So FOIL it first. That is x times negative 3, and looks something like that. So we have x squared minus 3x plus 6x minus 18 equals negative 8. Combine like terms. As I combine like terms here in the middle, x squared negative 3x plus 6x is 3x. I'm also going to add 8 to both sides. So negative 18 plus 8 is negative 10. And remember, we always want it set equal to 0 because when I factor, I want to set each one of those pieces equal to 0. So it says x squared. So I will have x and x. Now I'm looking for factors of 10. Two things that multiply to give me 10. Notice it is a minus sign there in front of the 10. So it multiplies to give you 10 and subtracts to give you 3. So that is going to be 5, positive 5, minus 2. 5 minus 2 is 3, and 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Once it's been factored out, set each one of the factors equal to 0. So if x plus 5 equals 0, means x is negative 5. And if x minus 2 equals 0, then x is equal to positive 2. When we're just dealing with simple ratios and not actual geometric figures, negative values are fine. Make sure, though, that if we're trying to find the side of a triangle, or maybe the side splitter theorem or something like that, make sure that you're plugging that value in to make sure that it does make sense to us. All right, and the last one for the front of this page, number 5, says the ratio of the measures of the angles of a triangle are 4, 5, 6. So I'm just let me put a picture of a triangle up here. There we go. I don't know. How about that? And it says that the angle, the ratio of the angles. Now I don't know how many degrees they are, but I do know that they come in this ratio, 4. So I'll put a variable with it. This is 4x. This is 5x. This is 6x. And as long as I multiply those numbers 4, 5, and 6 by the same number, my ratio of 4, 5, 6 will stay the same. This is very similar to the homework problem and the notes problem that we did, where we were talking about we had a perimeter and we had to add them up, and we used an x variable. So I do know this about the sum of the interior angles of a triangle. If I add these all up, it has to add up to 180 degrees. So 4x plus 5x plus 6x has to add up to 180 degrees, because the sum of the interior angles of a triangle are 180 degrees. So that is 15x equals 180. And if I do 180 divided by 15, you'll find out that x is 12. Now, what does it want us to find? It says find the measure of the angles in each triangle. So now that I know what x is, 4 times x is 48. So this angle up here that we called 4x, this angle, 48 degrees. The 5x angle, 5 times 12, down here, is 60 degrees. And then the 6 times 12 is 72 degrees. So this triangle would be a 48, 60, 72 degree triangle. That's it for video 1, page 1. If you look at the next video here, you will see the back of this review, page 2. Thanks for watching.